Today, I'm going to talk about the Leica M10. Hey, what's up everyone? You good? This is Hyunmin Jung from HMJ Photography. Every week, I post videos about cameras and photography in English, Japanese, and Korean. So, if you find some of my videos in other language, like this, どうもこんにちは HMJ Photography のチョンヒョンミンです or like this 안녕하세요 HMJ Photography의 전현민입니다. Please don't worry and please don't go away because you can find the same video in English. So today I want to talk about Leica M10. This camera first came out in 2017 and now there is a newer Leica M camera, Leica M11. So this Leica M10, does this camera still hold up in 2022? What I say is, hell yes. Unless this camera breaks, I really personally think that this camera will always be a fantastic camera a photographer can have. The reason why I say this is that this camera has everything I personally need in a photography camera. Something more than this camera would be nice, yes, but it's not really a necessity, at least for me. A lot of times when we talk about the evolution of digital cameras, we also talk about the megapixels. And yes, Leica M11 has 61 megapixels and this Leica M10 has 24 megapixels. And when you just compare those two numbers, 61 and 24, yes, 24 may sound significantly smaller. However, guess what? 24 is still very big. And with 24 megapixels, it can stand almost any kind of big prints. I personally have Sony a7R IV, which is also 61 megapixel, but I personally think that 61 megapixels come only useful when you're cropping the image. So yes, I really love this camera. I had this camera for about a couple months now, and this camera comes with me wherever I go. I take this camera even when I go check my mailbox. So, now, I want to talk about why I love this camera. The first thing I want to talk about is that you can do all the settings you need without even turning on the camera. There's an ISO dial here, shutter speed dial here, and of course, the aperture is on the lens. So, before even turning on the camera, you can do all the settings you need and you can even focus. And then all you need to do is turn the camera on and click the shutter button. This is somewhat very close to the experience you can get with film cameras, and I really love this. The second thing I want to talk about, and this is actually probably one of my favorite things about this camera, and it is the low light performance. Even with higher ISO, you can get a very high quality photos. Please take a look at this photo. I took this photo with the ISO of 6400. And with ISO 6400, with most of other cameras, the image quality would not be usable. But with this camera, even with this high ISO, the image is still very beautiful. This is very important because this camera is used mostly in an environment where you can't really control the lights. And of course, when you can't control the lights are not always so perfect. So being able to take high quality image with higher ISO is very, very useful. And thirdly, everything about this camera is so compact. The body is compact and the lens is compact. I mean, compare this to this Sony lens. I know, it may not be a very fair comparison, but anyway, having such a small lens makes your life so much easier because when I go outside, I can even take extra lenses without hurting my back. And lastly, these Leica digital cameras and these Leica film cameras use the same lens mount. So, like, I personally enjoy shooting with film cameras too, but I don't have to carry separate lenses for two different cameras, and that helps me a lot. However, before I end this video, I want to talk about how this camera is not a perfect camera for everybody. Yes, it is a perfect camera for me, but it may not be for you. Especially when you're a beginner photographer, when you don't really know much about cameras, please don't just grab this camera because it looks cool. Because firstly, this camera doesn't have autofocus, and that is going to make your life very difficult. And of course, although this camera has some auto functions with the exposures, the aperture, you have to do it yourself, and you really should have some good ideas on how to expose properly. But again, I really think this camera is a perfect camera for street photographers, and personally, I don't even really need anything more than this. That is how much I love this camera.
I know you told your friend you're not okay. And tell me what's wrong and why you
Thank
never
you very
said
much.
you
Please
felt
like,
that way.
subscribe, and
'Cause if I
share.
stay strong
Until
and
next time.
fake a smile.